Thank you so much for having me. Mindy is a hard act to follow, don't you think? And Colin as well. But you know what? I have a really interesting way to tie this together, if you don't mind. So I'm going to take a second to do that before I introduce my amazing panelists, Terri and Karina. So my background, I know I'm supposed to provide an intro, so we'll stream it all together. My background is actually in business as well as in wellness. In 2008, I was fortunate enough to work with New York City, which some people will consider the best brands in the world. I'm not saying that, I've heard it. So when I was there, one of the main criteria for anything that we did that was handed, this criteria was handed to us from the mayor's office, from Mayor Michael Bloomberg's office, was that it had to be accessible. That was one of our 5 pillars. Mindy, do you like that? So that pillar was accessibility, and we could not embark on any initiative, any campaign, anything if it didn't have accessibility woven into it. To be completely honest with you all, at that time I was substantially younger, and it didn't mean quite as much as it means to me today. Wow, am I allowed to get emotional at FounderMade? I have a husband who is disabled, and it's very hard. Okay, moving back. So between then and now, I did launch the brand Row House. I'm the founder of Row House, and adaptability was actually a part, it was woven into one of our 5 brands values as well, 4 brands values, actually. The rowing community has been huge to support adaptive rowing and to understand the neurological component and all of that. So it's a very interesting topic to me, because when we think about things from a strategic standpoint, we're about to jump into marketing, but when we think about things from a strategic standpoint, really knowing who we are, who we're serving, why we're here as a brand, super duper important, whether it's a brand's value, accessibility, or something like that, inclusion. And then, of course, Colin mentions everything is ever changing, and we're, looking to appeal to consumers with the minds of a goldfish. So how do all of these things that mean so much to us in the core of our business existence actually get translated out into the marketing world through messaging? So anyway, that's about me. Hi, I work on various projects these days, and I've been super fortunate to work with Pvolve and Karina Kogan, who I'm going to ask to come up here first. She is an amazing marketer and technologist. So Karina, if you can come up here, and Terri, my new friend, who is in the pet world, so obviously they're really wonderfully fun and comforting to be around. Okay, can you introduce yourself, please,
Sure.
Karina?
Hi, everyone. I'm Karina Kogan. I'm the Chief Commercial and Marketing Officer at Pvolve. Pvolve is a functional fitness company. What we mean by functional fitness is we pair a modality that mimics how you move throughout your life with resistance-based equipment to tone, sculpt, strengthen, and restore the body. The modality is great for building stability, mobility, as well as all the sort of aesthetic results that you want. We're a D2C business largely. We do have a small store on Amazon, but the lion's share of our revenue is direct to consumer. We sell equipment on our website. We also have streaming, a membership where you can pay a monthly fee to access our content online. And then we also have a brick and mortar footprint. So we have 3 corporate-owned boutique studios where you can come and work out with us. And then we have a growing franchise business, which is taking our boutique studio model and expanding it through franchising. So excited to be here with you all. I'm going to pass it to you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to stay seated because I got a bowling ball attached to my body. It's so nice to see you and be with you this morning. I'm Terri Rockovich, co-founder and CEO of Jinx, and Jinx exists to help dog parents elevate the way that they care and connect with their dogs. And we do that through providing a healthier alternative to pantry-friendly dog food and dog treats. Jinx has been on a pretty wild ride since we launched into the height of the pandemic, but we incorporated the company in 2019, got funded in Q1, and really spent that entire year going through the formation stages, launched through a subscription commerce model in January of 2020, planned on expanding through strategic retail partnerships, but didn't have that opportunity because doors closed and lights were out and we were all forced to stay at home. So we really just navigated the subscription commerce model and invested in scaling D2C, understanding product reception, collecting customer feedback, optimizing our formulas, and really kind of proving out product market fit. And once the world started to normalize, we started to get ready for our retail partnerships launch in 2022. And so 2022 was kind of the year of figuring out omni-channel. And so we started the year with 0 doors, ended the year with a little over 2,500 doors, and we continue to scale retail partnerships through 2024. Specifically within pet, e-commerce is still the fastest growing channel, even though brick and mortar remains the largest share from a volume and transactional standpoint. So we still invest in e-commerce. D2C is competing for the #1 spot of our e-commerce channels against Chewy, but remains a really important part of our overall channel and portfolio. And really the future for Jinx is just continuing to build this single destination for dog parents to shop for all things consumables for their dogs. Before Jinx, I was at brands like Casper, Outdoor Voices, and ModCloth, and so had some exposure to clothing and apparel, and then mattresses in a box, and just really enjoy the 0 to 50 stage, I call it, just like building, launching, scaling, being really smart about growth. So excited to be here and talk D2C.
So thank you both ladies. We're very fortunate to be able to take a quick glimpse at wonderful brands videos for each brand. So if we could just pull up, I think we have the Pvolve one first. Thank you. We have Jinx first. Okay, Jinx first. Thank you.
Sustainably caught Atlantic salmon, immunity-boosting superfoods, and powerful probiotics in every bite. Jinx is real dog food made by real dog people.
I think it might be frozen. But do we have any dog owners in the room? I was gonna say it should be at least half of the population. Okay, cool. Does anybody let their dogs sleep in their bed? Like I do? Yeah. It's crazy when you have like 2 90-pound Akita mixes, and that happens every night.
Terri, can you just share with us, when you see that video, what are you thinking about in your head? How many takes did it get to that video? What do you love it? Did you see room for improvement? What are you thinking when you look at that video?
Yeah, so I was on set that day, and we worked with an agency partner called Zambezi to concept and produce that spot. And it's still serving as effectively like our top performing spot across digital assets and then also linear and connected TV. We cut it down for digital, and so like the 15-second version is really what we're promoting from an asset perspective. But it embodies what we're building, and really like I think that the kind of pet parent community is a really special one, and because of the observed trends, but then also just the relationships that we have with our companion animals, they're so special. And I think like you get it when you see somebody else kind of taking so much tender care of something that can't take care of themselves. And so this was really born in that spirit to like strike an emotional anchor with our intended audience and kind of catch attention. And I think like we've done things with Chris Evans and really like high profile endorsement partners. And I think more people talk about this spot, or we've created a conversation where we get a lot of engagement and feedback on this spot because I think it's very relatable and very authentic. And that was really the intention. It was an awareness play. And so it works as a really nice kind of first exposure to the brand. And then we continue to build frequency with potential consumers through, I would say, more direct response postured assets. But being on set with dogs is like one of the coolest experiences I think you can have. They're a lot easier to work with than people, and so it provided a very fun experience for the entire team. But we shot this one, and then another one where a girl is letting her dog lick her face, and the mailman kind of like catches them in this intimate moment, and the mailman's like, what is going on? And I think, like, again, it's just these like little pockets of intimacy that we have with our pets, and these special bonds that really kind of make us want to choose better brands because they certainly can't choose them themselves.
Thank you. And you mentioned also that you've used this and chopped it up for other things. What is the intended shelf life of a video like this? I'm just curious.
We'll take as much mileage as we can get. Yeah, I mean, this was probably one of the more expensive spots we invested in, just in terms of overall production and fidelity of asset. And so it still resonates the same and kind of looks and feels the same across platforms, regardless of length. But as long as it's working, we will continue to promote it. Our kind of campaign wrapper is real dog food made by real dog people, and this is like a little sub-creative campaign in there called Dog People Get It. And because it's resonating so well, I think there's lots of permutations we can build off of here, and then again build that like bottoms up kind of direct response messaging to really talk about product value proposition. And all of the like exciting benefits you get from a diet that has ingredients you can recognize, to kind of support a larger awareness initiative.
Last question on this. So you mentioned because it's working multiple times. What does working mean to you off of this campaign?
So when you put an awareness initiative out into the world, it's great if you're driving recall and favorability. So I would say that was the first measure, a set of KPIs that we were really looking to as we kind of flighted this across a 6-week test, linear and connected TV. And we're still mining through some of those data and insights, but if it turns a positive ROI, even better. That's kind of the gravy on top. It was intended to be something that just started to build frequency with a new population of consumers through a channel with really wide reach. And so this positive ROI that we're measuring through connected TV and digital is a really good sign that this type of content can resonate, and it doesn't always have to be direct response and kind of promotionally architected.
Love it, thank you. And so now we have Karina's video from Pvolve featuring a big celebrity name that we all know.
With this workout method, I'm stronger than I've ever felt before. I sweat. I sculpt. I bend. But I don't break. How liberating. Pvolve, a strength that sets you free.
It might be, yeah. I think there's some modifications.
I'm obviously an obsessive marketer, and every detail, every pixel, the fact that that's a 1x1 and not a 16x9. So hearing, I was like, that's an originally composed song, and hearing the piano play, it's like there's no piano in that song. Anyway, sorry.
No. So of course, hopefully we all observed that Jennifer Aniston is in the video. And Karina, the same set of questions goes to you. Honestly, Jennifer Aniston came to Pvolve and wanted to be a part of it. What was that? What are you seeing when you look at this video? The life cycle that was like. I know Pvolve was like, Karina, we need you. We need you. We have a big celebrity opportunity on our hands. And how did this all come together?
Yeah. So I think it's like every founder's dream. Maybe I would certainly would be my dream. But Jennifer Aniston was actually a consumer of the product. She was a member of Pvolve. She was using it at home. She was something we call a secret streamer, meaning she had an account and she was using it and we had no idea. And as a lifelong fitness fan, she started to sort of recognize the benefits of the modality and how unique and different it was from other methods that she had tried. She had done a lot of Pilates and cardio, and she's an avid yogi. But she really noticed that there was something fundamentally different about both how she was moving her body and the benefits her body was receiving. She had suffered from a back injury from a stunt she had done on set. So she reached out to Pvolve, and crazy story, it was through her manager reached out to Pvolve through LinkedIn. So y'all should really spend some time and invest in LinkedIn because you never know who's going to call you. And our founder, Rachel Katzman, literally thought she was being punked and that it was a joke that someone was playing on her and her family. And but it turned out not to be a joke. And so, so I, prior to Pvolve, I was the CMO at a company called Aura. Prior to Aura, makers of the Aura Ring, I was also head of global product marketing at Peloton. So I know a thing or two about both fitness, wellness, but also D2C, streaming, subscription models. So I got a call from Pvolve saying, hey, we have this massive announcement coming. Do you want to come on board and help us kind of take the company to sort of this next level? So it's been incredible watching the brand grow. And obviously, anybody watch the morning show? Not as many people as have dogs, I guess. But I mean, it's just such great timing too. You can't write these things, but I think her career and how beautifully she's aged just has done wonders for the brand in terms of people seeing that we can what our bodies are capable of doing and looking like well into our 50s. She's 54, and so it's been wonderful for the brand.
And so my understanding, the strength that sets you free, which is really kind of the main message in that brand spot, was essentially what she wanted to say. It came from her, but obviously you created that, right? So what was that process like to come up with kind of this being the brand spot for Pvolve?
Well, it had to be rooted in our product truths, our brand truths, and what is true of Pvolve is that it is a science-backed method. We invest in clinical studies. We just completed actually 3 different clinical studies on the benefits of our method. It is a functional movement, is a way to train your body to move sustainably and holistically to serve you throughout your life, unlike other modalities. So as someone who worked at Peloton, I love Peloton, but I can tell you pedaling on a bike in a spin class, just doing this with your legs is not functional. It does not serve you in your life in any way other than when you're on a bike. But Pvolve's modality does train you to move the way you do throughout your life. So everything that we put together was authentic to her and her experience, but all of it was also very much rooted in what is this product, what is the experience, what are the product benefits, and how do we convey those through this very powerful voice.
Love that. And then how do you look at this brand spot similarly to Terri, taking it, chopping it up, using it for other things, looking to see if it's driving ROI in all aspects of the business, some aspects of the business? How do you look at the brand spot?
Yeah, so you all watched a 1x1, which is better for mobile. That's not the spot that ran on TV. But we did shoot a ton of social first footage with her that was not unscripted, totally kind of more raw and kind of social first, if you will. We did take this spot and cut it, there's a 10, a 15, a 6, the 30, a unique 15. I mean, as you guys know, if you advertise on Meta, the entire advertising ecosystem, but especially Meta, followed quickly by Google, is a creative, like, Pac-Man, I say. It's just like your creative are those little dots, and the Pac-Man just eats them, and then it eats them faster and faster. It's so hard to constantly, as you scale your marketing spend, produce enough creative to survive the insane amount of wear out that happens, particularly on digital media. It happens actually a lot slower through television. But so we have to produce an incredible amount of content. And as you can imagine, with someone like Jennifer Aniston, we don't get an incredible amount of time. I don't call her up and say, hey, Jen, can we shoot an Insta video? So we had to produce just a ton of content with the time that we had, and then we constantly supplement with other content. And we have some other video to share if we get time for that. But we also have noticed that we have to supplement this content with customer-created content, meaning it's not enough for the consumer just to see an A-list megastar in your advertising, because they're like, great, anybody can get Jennifer Aniston. I mean, what they don't know is that's not true, but for the consumer, they don't know that she emailed us on LinkedIn, right? Like, that's not, they see a celebrity, marketing, in a marketing campaign, which consumers are used to seeing all the time. So what they expect is backup from other consumers just like them. So we produce a ton of customer-generated content, both vis-a-vis influencers as well as through our own members. And that stuff actually has a tremendous amount of value and mileage and performs really, really well, because people want to, you know what I mean? They want the validation that it's not just an endorsement deal.
I love that. I love the whole user-generated content side of things. And Terri, I spent a lot of time in the world of franchising, and I was with a franchise dog brand, and they were talking about how easy it is to get great user-generated content of dogs. Is that something that you also include in your strategies?
Yeah, I would say like influencer marketing and UGC creative is like an always-on evergreen strategy, and sits like a little further down the funnel or mid-funnel for us, because it is like the biggest validation moment for other customers, and it's a huge relatability asset. And so going through these videos that people very graciously and proactively submit in a lot of cases without payment, without product exchange, just because their dog has a funny reaction to like the box being delivered, or like takes a bag of treats and runs under the bed. All of that is so fun to look at, and it's even more fun to figure out how to string together, because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm scrolling through my feed, and I stop for any type of animal content. I'm just an animal lover, but like it really does spark joy. And I think that's one of our core values and core tenets, is just to kind of like create these little joyful moments, whether you're a pet parent or not a pet parent. And I think that UGC and validation content really helps to kind of like close some sales where people are on the fence.
So you both work with e-commerce to a degree, right? Pvolve with a lot of innovative equipment and products, and obviously Jinx with dog food and other items, I believe, but I'm not completely up to speed. So we know that that's a big part of what we're trying to drive here from an ROI standpoint, but also subscription and other aspects of the business. Would you each take a moment to talk? I know, Karina, you're driving a lot of subscription business and trialists and looking to convert them to paid subscribers. How are you thinking about that? How do you look at the trial to paid conversion, and what helps that be successful?
Sorry, microphone. The magic of a free trial is that it creates the lowest possible barrier to entry for a customer to just try and see if they like, and hopefully they do, and they continue to give you their business. So we do offer a 7-day free trial of our streaming service. The challenge with that, though, is that there is a limit to how much of our content library you can really enjoy without equipment. So if you go to pvolve.com, actually, we don't merchandise the trial front and center. We're very strategic about how it shows up, because we also know that a customer starting with a trial and having no equipment is probably at a disadvantage and or is likely to have a less awesome experience than a customer who actually has equipment in hand and can do any class in the library or more classes in the library. So for that reason, we actually, in addition to offering a 7-day streaming free trial, what we do heavily merchandise is the 30-day home trial, which means, by the way, is just another way of saying we have a 30-day return policy. But it's giving that customer confidence that if they buy equipment and they don't like it, they could send it back for free, right? We'll take it back, we'll restock it, no restocking fee, we'll cover the cost of shipping. What that does is create a similar reduction in the barrier to entry, right? Oh, I can use this at home, and if I don't like it, I could send it back, and I haven't lost any money. But it guarantees that that customer has a better experience and is more likely then to continue with their monthly subscription thereafter. So from a merchandising and if you guys do sort of good, better, best pricing or merchandising on your site, for us, it really is about getting that customer to buy a bundle, get a few pieces of equipment in their hands, let them know you don't like it, you could send it back, and then them rolling into a monthly subscription. So instead of emphasizing the free trial, which is only 7 days, we're emphasizing the 30-day return policy. And that has a much healthier, I think, retention rate, not just conversion rate, but retention rate. Those customers are more likely to stay on longer because they can do more of the method.
Are you seeing a lot of returns? I remember I got my box, it was like 33 pounds. I was like, whoa, I think it would be harder to even return it than to
I know, right? You're like, this is too painful to return it. Well, this is why we do strength training, right? So we can lift that box. But our return policy is, our return rate is actually comparable to the return rate I've seen at previous e-commerce businesses I've worked at. So it's not higher. As a matter of fact, I actually think, I don't know, these days in an e-commerce world, if you're not offering hassle-free returns, I think customers are going to be really skeptical. People don't want to, I think it signals to the consumer, I'm going to get ripped off, right? So I do think being confident about your return policy and figuring out how to make that work within your unit economics, baking in that return rate is I think, part of what running a healthy business should look like.
Terri, you mentioned you do have a subscription, but you don't really have a trial. And so can you speak a little bit about that, how that whole thing works?
Yeah, so we launched with a subscription commerce model. You can still buy in an ad hoc capacity, but really the value and the savings is with this recurring purchase that you can kind of set and forget. You can buy bundles and do that ad hoc, but that's really the only way to kind of get any type of savings or promotion through the transaction. And so what we found is the first 18 months we really invested in optimizing the subscription commerce program, is that, again, return rates are probably in line with industry standard, or cancellations are in line with industry standard, but for those people that continue to buy, there's a real opportunity to continue to cross-sell and upsell as you launch new products, or as you launch limited time SKUs, or if you're doing brand partnerships. And so they've been incredibly valuable to us from an LTV perspective. And really this compounding predictable revenue is part of this larger omni-channel model, and I think it adds a ton of enterprise value when you're thinking about the business on the whole. And so we started as a digitally native brand. We've given the consumer a ton of flexibility in terms of pick how you want to purchase, but we have a highly replenishable product, and so it makes a lot of sense to set it up to come every 4 or 5, 6 weeks. And then as we work with our retailer.com partners, we're also a part of their subscription program. So think Petco.com, PetSmart.com, Chewy.com. And again, like it makes it easier to throw that bag in with a bunch of other items that you're already buying, either for a same pet or a multi-pet household. And again, like it's predictable revenue. And at this stage, because so much of our volume has shifted to retail, D2C really remains this like glowing, profitable channel within our portfolio that is turnkey to some extent because all of the investment was made up front. And the subscription commerce program is just putting up like really good numbers with little resourcing.
So you brought up LTV. So let's just dig a little deeper into LTV. So how are you thinking about LTV, especially in a digital world, obviously, as opposed to a traditional marketing sort of world or conversation? What have you learned about your LTV? How are you trying to expand your LTV beyond what you already mentioned?
Yeah, so I often think that brands are so maniacally focused on growth, and how we've pivoted over the past three and a half years is really focusing on customer retention and continuing to either reactivate lapsed customers or drive more engagement and purchase activity with this customer base that continues to be really happy with the product and continues to buy in a recurring and predictable way. And so LTV for us, we've got some cohorts that have developed within our returning customer database, but as we launch new products, like really they are the ones that we are having the most direct dialogue with in terms of this is how you can complement your current box or your current food system, and this is how things work together, and it's an education opportunity, it's a marketing opportunity, it's a sales opportunity, but really those are the most valuable customers. Unlike retail, it's a lot easier to track in the near term and the long term, and so you see these kind of cohorts manifesting over months and now in some cases years, but they're really our most valuable customers. And so a lot of our time as it relates to D2C growth and optimization is spent on our community and our current customers instead of like competing in this very noisy landscape to generate new customers.
Thank you. And Karina, how do you look at LTV?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree wholeheartedly that it's very more important probably to keep a customer once you have them than just to get a bunch more, right? Otherwise, you have a leaky bucket, and in a subscription business, the leaky bucket is a bad bucket. So, we do look at LTV in a number of ways. First, we look at LTV based on what do you have at home, right? A customer who is outfitted with most of our equipment is probably going to be more retentive, as you can imagine, than a customer that only has one or two pieces. Why? Because we're essentially furnishing their entire home gym solution. They could do more workouts with us. They have more variety in the kinds of content that they can engage in. So that customer will obviously have higher LTV, not just because they've made more equipment purchases, but because they will likely be more engaged and be able to take more classes. So we do quite a bit of work on upselling customers, recommending content to them, and also giving them offers, incentivizing them because we know if they buy one more piece of equipment and that one piece of equipment unlocks 20% more of the streaming library to them, they're more likely to stick around longer. They're more likely to work out more with us. We get more share of their workouts, even if they maybe have a Peloton at home or they do outdoor running or still go to yoga classes. The more we can get them to work out with us, the longer they're going to stick around. So for us, it's really about knowing what they have at home, personalizing the experience for them, incentivizing them to buy more product, and recommending, frankly, more content to them. The way that you drive LTV in a subscription business is by continuing to add value to the membership. Continuing to add value to the membership. When I was at Peloton, people were like, why would they have yoga classes or there's no yoga equipment? Why? Because the customer who was paying then $39, now $44 a month to take spin classes at home was seeing value in the additional yoga classes or the outdoor running classes or the meditation classes. And slowly, Peloton was replacing other things that customer used to augment their spin. So it's a similar model for us. It's constantly adding value to the membership and finding ways to get that customer to unlock more of the experience.
So I very much in the past chunk of years come from the brick and mortar kind of retail space, touching the customers, seeing them there, and kind of getting insights from that standpoint. I know kind of in D2C, we're looking a lot at just, cohorts, stats, all of that. So quick question that we didn't discuss prior, but how do you each stay in touch? Terri, we're going to go with you first. With those clients, how are you really getting your client feedback on insights, feelings, what they're looking for? Are you surveying them? Are you just looking at drop-off and stats? Are you finding places to pop up for that kind of real conversation touch point? Yeah.
For D2C or for brick and mortar?
For your brands as a large.
For your brand as a large. So obviously the collection of first-party data just through website experience is like the first signal whether something is resonating, and that can be like positioning, product launch, brand partnership, creative. And so I would say like we use those signals from a testing perspective to then think about like how we want to scale something. But because we've got this database or email list of tens of thousands of customers or inactive customers, we definitely use a survey tool to just understand what they're looking for or why they canceled their subscription or any differences they've noticed since feeding the product versus the prior product they were feeding. And so our customer database is a huge data collection tool. And then when you think about the larger ecosystem, and we're still learning because we launched this brand through retail partnerships in 2022. And so we started with Walmart, which is a beast and overwhelming in and of itself. But we're also using panel data and insights to understand not just how Jinx is performing within this larger brick and mortar retail landscape, but then also how other brands are performing, because some of those dips and curves really are happening across the industry, and it's not because you launched a new creative that probably a fraction of the population is exposed to and seeing. And so it's a combination of data sources, but I find we get the most insights and value from some of these customer surveys that we deploy against our database more directly.
Karina, do you want to take that, or should we keep moving so we can keep? Okay, so we have another video, if we can play, for Pvolve, and we're just going to jump into the topic also of what's really working, and where have some pain points been, and what have each Terri and Karina learned from those. So
much more than just a home workout. It is functional training that is designed to help your body in all different areas. It helps me with my mobility, with my flexibility, with my balance, with my strength, and I just enjoy it and love it, which I love that my son sees that, because working out is not punishment. It is a reward. Your body deserves it. And if I can make it fun and easy and do it at home, that is why I'm obsessed with Pvolve and all of the equipment, which is easy to use and works my body. And honestly, it really makes you work, and it really challenges me in new ways, which I always love.
Is it just me, or is every time we play a video, there's a piano playing? Okay. Sorry, guys. There's one more video. I guess we'll play it with the piano sound. But if you don't, as long as you guys like piano, I'm sure it's fine.
It's like the classy calm version.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure it out here.
No worries. You can play the other video. The sound is not as important. It'll just... utter cognitive dissonance between like a hype video and like the Chopin or whatever was happening. No. Well, so the reason I wanted to show those two videos, in response to the question of what's working and what's not working, and also part and parcel of one of the themes of I think all of the questions is about kind of what makes D2C businesses and D2C marketing different from traditional marketing. And the bottom line is, one we talked about, which is the insane amount of creative that you have to make. And the other is building community. And what is interesting about those two videos is obviously one is a highly polished brand video, and the other is a piece of customer created content. And you might say, oh, obviously the customer created content performs better because it's authentic and you can see the customer. Or you might say, oh, of course the brand video performs better because it's highly polished and and everybody looks really kind of swank in it. And the bottom line is, neither is true. And the thing about D2C marketing that is such a kind of hairbender, I suppose, is that when you're a D2C marketer, you have to be obsessed about every single part of your funnel. And what creative you show to a consumer, where in their path, depending on where they are in their path to purchase or where they are in discovery of your product, is completely different. And so what's amazing is that both of these videos perform extremely well or extremely terribly, depending on when the customer encounters that piece of content. And it is such a puzzle, right, to figure out kind of when and where you show what piece of content. And so in answer to your question of what's working, what's not working, I can tell you that, customer-generated content generally performs better as an education driver or conversion driver, not as an awareness driver. Brand content, great for awareness, sometimes not so good for conversion when you want validation that other people like you like this product. We did some user testing on our website, and our website is beautiful. It's Jen Aniston's and the big homepage carousel, and there's some user-generated content at the bottom of the page. And we did a bunch of user testing to figure out how to improve our conversion rate, because what we were seeing is a lot of people adding to cart, a lot of cart abandons. Why would you take the time to browse a website, go to multiple product pages, add stuff to your cart, and leave? It seems like a lot of work. And so we did a bunch of user testing to find out. What we learned from consumers is they were incredibly hungry for customer content. Even though we had stars everywhere with the ratings and reviews, they wanted literally video content of other customers saying, I love Pvolve, I use the P-ball, it helps me with my pelvic floor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that that's fascinating. And the brand marketer in you often wants to control the message, and why is that little kid under her when she's working out, and is that a liability? Your mind starts to race because you want to control the message. But what's amazing is that we found out that your website could actually be the most perfect place for your user-generated content, even though we spend most of our time making it for social media. So that was the one big learning that I recently had as we sort of were auditing all of our content.
Yeah, and on the social side, it's so interesting. I mean, even in the Pvolve conversation, we're talking about using the locations. That's the side of the business that I've been spending some time on, and using the locations and using the members to drive some user-generated content that drives community, because people want to see themselves in your brands, right? And so how do you kind of reach out? And this is a big thing in the fitness world in general. We do use user-generated content to drive community at the local level. But then it's kind of a question of, do you put it through a brand's filter? Do you let somebody control it before it's posted? Or do you just let it fly up there? So I was recently with a waxing franchise brand. It was very funny. They don't have, a local Instagram channel, for example, for their different locations. They only have the brand's level ones. And the reason is because in the waxing world, they were getting all sorts of crazy photos before and afters posted to the channels. So I think that it's vertical but by vertical also, dependent on, whether it serves you or it doesn't serve you. It's just a funny note. Terri, what about you? Biggest takeaways? What have you learned do's and don'ts?
So I think it goes back to, there's always a lot of pressure on growth. If your business isn't growing year on year, that's probably not a good thing. But I think you can really drive incrementality and really like value customers through the existing database that you have. And so I think what I love in other brands and what we're trying to emulate as well at Jinx is just this idea of community marketing. And so like really leveraging this asset that is your current or kind of pre-existing customer base and creating a conversation. And sometimes it's hard because we're in this man-made environment that's one-dimensional. So to have personality and connect becomes really hard, and it has to be authentic, or else it just doesn't resonate, and it certainly doesn't go viral. And so I think the emphasis on community marketing is really important. And then in terms of what's working, I think on the social side, we see brand posts, shoppable brand posts, and shoppable influencer posts. And retargeting probably returning the strongest ROI. SMS marketing is something that's really interesting, like specifically for subscription commerce businesses where you've got that recurring experience, delivery experience, and usage experience. And then also shoppable live streams. We did our first one earlier in the year. Kind of as a part of a larger Walmart campaign for Women's History Month, and it was incredibly successful. And then we decided to do one for D2C through Talk Shop Live, and that was also really successful. So I think that there's some formats that really can work if you kind of do them thoughtfully. And I don't think you always need to throw money at growth, but you can just be really creative about using kind of like this existing pool of people that already have exposure to your brand and have already purchased in some capacity.
Thank you both so much for bringing this panel alive. We meant to take time for questions, but unfortunately we no longer have it, but I'm sure you can find everybody around here and on LinkedIn. So thank you. We look forward to, talking further.
Thank you.